I'm a little nervous because the legendary, you're an institution, Be Real.
Well, thank you.
So like my hands are a little shaky, but I'll get it together. It's just, I grew up listening to, it was like Eric B. and Rakim, Tribe Called Quest, NWA, 2 Live Crew, and Cypress Hill. So having you here is a freaking honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So we're going to kick things off. We're going to kick off the 90s at noon with How I Could Just Kill a Man. And this might be a good time for you to tell us like a little inside baseball on the song.
Inside baseball?
Inside baseball. Like give me something that somebody might not know about How I Could Just Kill a Man, or something that you remember from recording it.
Well, you know, it was a song that was comprised from 3 different songs that I had written. And when Muggs made the beat, he was like, hey, take a piece of the song that you wrote for this thing, take this piece and this other piece, and this is how we're going to craft the song. So it was like 3 different songs made in one. And, I didn't know how it was going to work, but once we started recording it, I totally heard what he was saying, because I wrote 3 specific styles on these 3 different songs, and he thought making those 3 different styles one on this one song would be it. And that's the genius of his production style, is that he could hear something like that ahead of time and say, hey, I know that this song is this and all that, but let's sacrifice this because this one song is going to be great in comparison to the 3.
A producer's mind.
Yeah, and the other thing was that, we ran that video in New York, so a lot of people initially thought we were from New York because not too many LA hip-hop groups were filming videos in New York at that time. So that was the other thing. It created, like the where are they from type of vibe. Yeah.
That's part of your genius, though. It's like, because you mixed those 2, East Coast and West Coast, those 2 sensibilities so perfectly, and it's what makes you the historic Cypress Hill.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, we're going to get into it. This is How I Could Just Kill a Man. It's the 90s at noon on KROQ. The way I was... Still sounds just as good.
I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
We still have a lot of fun playing that song. A lot of artists get tired of playing some of their old songs or hits or whatever. We don't. We're totally in appreciation of what those songs did for us. And, we're fans of our music too. So,
it makes sense.
Yeah, so when we see people having... it still has that impact, that crazy energy from day one to now. How could you get tired of seeing that? And how could you get tired of feeling that? You know what I mean? So, I love doing these songs. We'd like to do newer songs and stuff like that as artists, but when it's a song that impacted someone and it means so much to them, you cannot move away from that.
No, plus it kicks so many doors open for you. You can't be mad at that.
Can't be mad at that.
Okay, so I was watching your documentary, which is phenomenal. I had never seen it before. And in the post-documentary Q&A, you were talking about how before Cypress Hill, you were on the path. You said, quote unquote, on the path to nowhere. Where do you think you'd be now had Cypress Hill not happened, fatedly? Or, tell me about that.
Several of things could have happened.
Trouble?
Yes, all trouble, because I was a gangbanger, for a while before we start making the music. Music was the hobby and passion for Sendog, DJ Muggs, Mellow Mayonnaise, T-Funk from the Funk Dubious, and myself, who we all, sort of grew up together as young men. And this was our hobby. We loved hip-hop. We loved the rapping aspect of it, because we started with the b-boy stuff and the popping, but we graduated over into, emceeing and whatnot. But for a while, I fell off, and I started hanging out with my other friends, and, we were up to no good, truthfully.
I have those friends still.
Yeah.
I am that friend.
I still have some of those friends, but they grew up, and they're not on that path anymore neither. You know what I mean? And it happens. There is a way out for these youngsters who think this is the only life that they could have. No. You tell yourself that, but that is not a truth. You could tell yourself something else and manifest something different. And I was fortunate enough to have this hobby that was still a passion, and 3 great friends who saw where I was going, which was nowhere. It could have been in prison, could have been in a wheelchair, or in the grave. Those are the three paths that, you know, are always available to you as a gang member, you know. And I was fortunate enough to have a different path. You know, God blessed me with a talent, and these guys were, they loved me enough to come get me for what they saw I had at the time.
Yeah, and say, they saw you.
Yeah, they saw me, and I appreciate that. And, you know, for me, that's no matter what has happened between any of us in our personal lives over the course of the years, always love them like my brothers, because, you know, they didn't have to take that chance, and I could have been in one of those three scenarios. Now, a few of us, you know, and it's a small percentage that get out and don't suffer any of these things, but it's rare.
It is rare. And you have to, would you say you have to have a passion?
Yeah.
You have to have something outside of that life?
Yeah, I think you have to have something else, and you have to have good people that will tell you you have other things available to you.
Boom.
You know, and manifest better things to yourself. You know, like on my Dr. Green Thumb show, we talk about this a lot, and we say, you know, it's what you tell yourself when you're in one of these, you know, neighborhoods and it's gang infested, drug related. A lot of us tell ourselves, oh man, I ain't nothing, I ain't never gonna be nothing.
That dialogue isn't gonna work.
And that dialogue will lead you down that path, because if you start believing it, you're gonna have nothing and be nothing. But if you change it and say, I have the ability to flip it and do something and be something and have something, you could totally do that.
And I deserve a good life.
Yes.
And I deserve a good life.
That's right.
That's right. I deserve a good life. Okay, more 90s at noon. This is Rage Against the Machine. You like Rage Against the Machine? Oh yeah. All right, 90s at noon with my co-host Be Real. It is the world famous KROQ. Be Real, these are your buddies.
Yeah.
The Beastie Boys.
Salute and much respect to the legendary Beastie Boys.
You know what I think is, there's nobody, hold on, he's going to do it. There you go. Nobody can touch the Beastie Boys. Like, nobody will ever come close to what the Beastie Boys were.
They're so loved by everybody. You know what I mean? They just were able to reinvent themselves every time, and it was always dope.
Punk, they're hip hop, they're rock, they're hardcore, they're everything, and I don't think anybody's been able to hold a candle to that.
Yeah, their stamp is remarkable.
Speaking of stamps, so Cypress Hill. You started Cypress Hill. Did you have a vision for what you were going to do, and would you imagine that you would do all these first? You're historic in so many different ways, so let's go down a list. Why don't you tell us some things that you've done that might have shocked you at the beginning?
Oh, my God.
Because you were always very... I always saw you as like somebody who constantly needed to prove themselves. You had a lot of naysayers, but you shut them down.
Yeah,
you did.
We use that as fuel. You know, we had many people like doubting whether we were going to get in and do anything. Oh, you think you're going to be like Run DMC or something like that? We're like, no, we're going to be us.
Cypress Hill.
But you know, it was one of those things that you got to have that self-belief and that I don't give a damn attitude on what anybody thinks. We're very punk rock for being a
still
hip-hop
are
group.
My homies still are.
We still are.
Yeah.
And I don't think we had any idea that we were gonna be the first in a lot of areas that you know ended up surprising us. Like, for instance, one of the things that tripped us out was, you know, we released our first album on the top, and it comes out, charts on the top 200 at like 170, something really low, right? And after a few weeks, it drops off the chart completely. This is our self-titled album, Cypress Hill 1. Then,
which is iconic.
When Kill a Man starts blowing up on the mix shows, then Chuck D and the Bomb Squad put it in the pivotal scene in Juice. They place it,
and boom,
and it blows up. We start coming back up the chart again. So for about a year and a half, you see our album just going up, slowly but surely. And about at the 2.5 year mark, or maybe no, it was probably a year and a half, Sony's like, hey, you got to turn in the other album. So we need to get you guys in the studio. You guys need to come off tour, because we're touring the whole time. And, you know, within 2-3 months, we had the record made, which was crazy because we took 5 years for that first album. And when we were putting out Black Sunday, it was charting at #1.
Damn.
You know, #1 album. And our first album had come all the way up to number 5. So we were the first hip-hop group to have 2 albums in the top 5 200 Billboard charts at the same time. And then we held the number 1 spot with Insane in the Brain for 6 weeks, which was longer than anybody had at that time at number 1 in hip-hop, number 1 single.
Yeah.
And then our first day sales of Black Sunday. Previously, Ice Cube had the biggest first day sale at 270-something thousand records or something like that. And we had like 365,000 or something like that on our first day.
Very punk rock.
We had a lot of firsts going on there. The people really didn't give them to us because we were a pot group to a lot. But yeah, we did a lot of things. But we never really, we didn't celebrate them that much. And, we were surprised by them, frankly. But we just kept moving. We didn't take time and sit on that and pat ourselves in the back. Yeah.
And here we are. Well, we're going to do this. Your friends here in Korn. We're going to play Korn, and then can we talk about marijuana?
Yes.
We're going to talk about marijuana.
And I love Korn too.
It's the 90s at noon. I'm Nicole Alvarez with my co-host Be Real. It's the world famous KROQ. This is a very surreal day for me. I'm Nicole Alvarez. It's the 90s at noon, and I'm sitting with Be Real, and we're talking about edibles.
Yes.
I am not a good edible person. I told you I can't even look at one because I go places and I end up on the floor in fetal position.
Yep.
I thought that you were untouchable, but apparently, you too have ended up in fetal position on the floor.
Yes.
And it was an edible.
It was not a traditional edible, right?
What does that mean for the common folk?
All right, so a traditional edible would be like, let's just say you infused, let's say a cupcake or a cookie or a brownie or something like that.
Rice Krispie treat, what have you.
Rice Krispie treats. These are traditional sweet edibles. that we know about.
Okay.
I don't like doing the sweets. They're too rich. Like, for me, THC is like very sweet along with the sugar that's already in whatever they're making. Right? So it's very rich, and I don't like that. I try to keep my sugar intake down. I don't like rich stuff, right?
Carbs.
So we start experimenting with Rick Simpson oil and solventless hash oil. And we were putting them in gel caps so that we didn't have to eat any of the sugar products or whatever. It's just straight up.
I get it.
Yeah, the carbs. We try to look out.
Watching your figure.
Yes,
I get it. You're performers. Okay.
All that, right? So we start, taking the Rick Simpson oil in gel caps and being very experimental, small dosage, and it was cool. The minute I start going up, because, we're extremists in this thing. Like I said before, my squad, we challenge ourselves, right? So I think I did 800 to 1,000 milligrams, which is close to a gram. 1,000 milligrams is a gram. Put one in one of those gel caps, and
your face melted.
Oh my God. I was sitting there watching TV for a second, and then the TV waved on me like a proper wave. And then, I got hot. I start taking things off, and then I see my wood floor, and I look down at my wood floor. I touch it. Just that's how high I am at this point, right?
Just to make sure it's there?
It was nice and cool, so I just laid down on my cold hardwood floor and cooled off, but I was like hammered.
What was the lesson, would you say, that you learned?
Slow down on the milligrams,
Slow down
baby.
on the milligram. Okay, we're going to play another song. This is Stone Temple Pilots. Did you know Scott?
We met them and played with a few festivals with them. They were very cool dudes, and rest in peace, because he was a very talented
talented man. This is Interstate Love Song. I'm Nicole Alvarez here with Be Real, and this is the 90s at noon on KROQ. It's very strange. Hold on. So I think about this. When you started out, you guys like to smoke weed.
Yeah.
But the marijuana culture wasn't what it is now.
Right.
Would you have ever imagined, because it was a little more rebellious when you were bringing it out on stage with your like 20 foot joints.
Yeah.
It was a little more rebellious, and it was a little bit more taboo, and now it's just the norm.
Yeah.
Would you have ever expected that?
I knew it was possible, but really, you don't have a time frame for something like that. You just try to, put up the good fight. We were pretty much mentored by Jack Herrera, who taught us a lot about cannabis, aside from just the casual consumption, all the possibilities that we're seeing today now. So we knew that the possibilities
of like
were there.
It being an empire.
Well, yeah, and all its usage, not just for consumption,
medicinal uses,
uses, and the technology that would be developed, later on, that is now that you see now in the industry in terms of data collection of let's just say cultivation. People are using automated systems to collect data on what their crops do. If this was the right formula for this crop, is it the most efficient? All that sort of thing, and then the automated functions of what some of these, new tech companies have formulated for the cannabis industry, and you're going to see more of that, and that's the trippy part. I mean, because that's something we didn't even think about. The tech.
No, I mean, I just like walking into a store and being like, this is how I feel, and some dude hands me like either a joint or a jar of indica, and I'm like, okay, and then he's right. He's like, he's a little witch doctor.
Yeah.
So that part's cool, but then it's what you're talking about is a whole other dimension.
Yeah.
Who can outsmoke you?
Nobody.
Who can go toe-to-toe with Be Real?
Wiz Khalifa.
But like toe-to-toe or like almost there?
Wiz Khalifa.
Wow.
He smokes.
So he can kind of maybe sort of outsmoke you?
No.
There should be a smoke-off, is what you're saying.
We could, but we'd just both be high.
What? And that's a bad
thing? But
I
won't go to sleep.
Why?
Because no one could put me to sleep.
Seriously? So no matter how much you smoke, you'll never pass out?
No.
You are a specimen, my friend. We will be right back. We're wrapping up the 90s at noon. I'm Nicole Alvarez with Be Real. You taught me something today, B. So if you get fetal position high, which means too high, meditate.
Meditate.
You
just
said
breathe.
meditate.
Just breathe. Meditate.
I know, but have you ever, like, my fetal position high is like not, like I can't form words, and other people seem like they're out to get me, and like it gets really nefarious in there.
I had to do this one time on a flight because my good friend Eric Bobo,
is that the guy with the big lungs that you were talking about?
Bobo,
big
yes.
Lung Bobo?
Big Lung Bobo. He's our percussionist and drummer, member of Cypress Hill.
Okay.
We were leaving, I'm going to say maybe Brazil or somewhere like that. And we were coming back home. And he says, here, take this RSO gel cap. This gel cap.
Oh, another edible?
Yeah. It was,
damn.
Because we were like, oh, let's sleep on the flight. So I asked him, how many milligrams is this? And he goes, it's about 100. I'm like, okay, cool. So I take it before we get on the flight.
Oh, hell no.
Bad mistake.
Yeah.
I should have took it on the flight, but I took it before we get on. So I'm sitting there, and it's starting to hit me. And it's not 100. It's 250.
Oh, my God.
And my mind was ready for 100, but it was 250. So, like, now I'm, like, feeling it. And we start taking off.
Oh, my God.
And now the plane is banking to the left and then banking to the right.
Hell no.
And my equilibrium is just totally off at this
point. What about claustrophobia? Didn't, like, the walls start caving in at some point? I would have died.
I didn't get that, but I was, like, really in a bad way. So I start meditating to like snap myself out of
Buddha
this.
meditating?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm breathing. I'm doing like the circular breathing, the whole stuff, thinking of the mantra in my head to snap me out of it. The flight attendant comes by. She notices. She sees that I'm sweating.
Yeah.
She sees me sweating and I'm breathing. And she just, without asking me, she just drops a bottle of water on my table. It's like, here you go.
Atta girl.
I'm like, oh my God. But I survived. That was good. But I would never take any RSO from Eric Bobo before we get on a flight again.
Done. Okay, before we leave, we're going to wrap it up. But before we leave, let's talk about Haunted Hill. I want you to invite the masses. Tell us what you're doing night before Halloween.
Yes, we're popping it off at the Fonda on October 30th. We used to do these shows, these Haunted Hill shows in New York. We did them for 22 years straight. It was our annual New York show because, we popped off there first. But for, one of my friends that lives out here, my man Damon Hellery, does a show called Smoke and Scan. He kept on breaking my, he was
busting your balls.
Busting my balls about bringing the Cypress Hill Haunted Halloween show to L.A. Like, he had done it for years.
You're born and raised.
Yes, he was the advocate for these folks in Los Angeles to get this show. Okay. So finally I tell our manager, Deb Klein, who's out there, I said, Deb, we got to get this show in L.A. because people are on my back about this. They want this particular show. And we made it happen. We started doing it here, I think, what is it, like 3-4 years back, maybe 5 now. And, people come out and support. We got a really dope lineup for this one. We got the Coyotes, a.k.a. the Yotes, dope hip-hop group out of L.A., homegrown, Hawthorne.
Awesome.
They kill it. Funk Dubious, the Alcoholics, or the Licks now, right? It's the Licks. And who are, we go way back with them.
It's going to be a night to remember.
And the almighty Cypress Hill. And we're going to do something different for everybody that night. So whoever comes in, they're going to get a great show this night.
Done and done. I have a normal, honest question. Did you come here high today?
I did.
Okay, good. That's all I wanted to hear. 90s at noon. That was Be Real. Thank you so much. It's been absolutely amazing to have you here and surreal. It's the 90s at noon on KROQ.